Hi, my loves, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anita. I'm an energetics and embodiment expert. And on my channel, we talk a lot about masculine and feminine energies, the alignment and embodiment of it, sovereign power, but also a little bit of astrology, human design, and of course, relationship and everything that falls into relationships. And today I'd like to tackle a topic that is very important, especially the closer we are getting into the new year, into 2024. And before I begin, I would like you to really recap the last 3 years in particular, but especially this year as well. What has changed in your life? What has shifted inside of you? What have you released and let go of? What has left your life? What has come new into your life? And what are other changes that you're feeling are about to come into your life? You see, when we talk about energetics, we always need to look at the universal scheme of things, at the larger cycles and smaller cycles in life. Everything is always connected and does not happen as a single event. In astrology, we call the new era that we are actually entering. Some say we are already in it, but I personally believe we will be in it once Pluto fully anchors into Aquarius, which is going to be in 2025. However, it's going to be back in Aquarius from the 23rd of January all the way up until September or October, I believe, before he goes back for 3 months into Capricorn and dips back into Aquarius, where he then is going to stay for the next 20 years. And I keep saying, and many others who are doing this kind of work, that this new era, the age of Aquarius, we always need to look at the polar opposite sign of it, which is Leo, is a replay of the Atlantean era, which was the age of Leo. So this is a time where we need to really realign our nervous system, because what is happening is with all these solar flares that are entering Earth, we are really being modified and decoded in our own DNA codes and systems into our sovereignty, into our power, which means we need to release trauma, karmic imprints. We need to do shadow and inner child work. And while many of you, I'm sure, have done that, and it's not just the concept of what we do, but it's a part of a larger scheme that is happening. And these kind of works are works we do in the beginning, because once we are in our sovereign state, all we then need to do is reclaim our sovereignty when challenges occur, when we are asked to level up to the next level. Because you see, it's a game that doesn't just end. We don't just arrive somewhere and we are done. It's a continuum. But how this continuum plays out, how we deal with it in our lives, this is what is going to be the huge difference. And this is where sovereignty in particular takes place. Now, just going quickly back to the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is about humanity, of course, but it's also about being different, being unique. AI, higher intelligence, as we can see, is already coming in stronger. And these topics have been around for a long time. If many of you have watched I, Robot, I don't even know when this movie was released, we have already been prepared for the topics that are yet to enter, because what a lot of people don't know, what we call the elite, what we call the 1%, these guys work with astrology. They work with occult knowledge, because even they cannot escape the larger cycles and the cosmic events that are going to happen. So with the age of Aquarius, we need to be mindful of our nervous system, because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and Saturn, and Uranus rules the nervous system. So with these higher codes coming in, we can feel a lot of time on edge. And this is what in particular we have been feeling for the past 2 months, is this feeling on edge, is this feeling like, oh, I can't take this anymore. We just have been very irritable. And with these energies, why this is happening is because we are being fine-tuned to connect with higher realms. Maybe some of you who are watching here have already noticed that they have been visited, not just in their dreams, but they have woken up in the middle of the night and seen things and heard things. And this is part of the activation. The more sensitive we are in our nervous system, the more we attune in to these higher frequencies. And this is why for a lot of people, this is hard, because the body, the vessel, needs to be able to store these frequencies. And this can only occur when we take out the garbage, the conditioning, the programming that have been playing a huge role in our lives. And then we need to look from Aquarius to the axis of Leo. Leo rules the heart. So we need to find the balance between our higher mind and our heart, meaning what allows us to feel joy, to feel fun, being creative. Children are ruled by Leo, the fifth house. So it's all about exploring our own inner creativity, having fun in life, enjoying things. It's not about one or the other. It's about finding balance in both. Aquarius, Uranus, Saturn, the new era is all about sovereignty. In human design, it is said that in 2027, the new background frequencies that are going to anchor into Earth are going to be in full force. So when this happens, we will not just feel the shift in the world, but also the shift in us. It's going to be there. And this is where we are going to move to what I have said earlier, from the physicalities all the way into energetics. Everything is more felt than it was before. We are going to live a life that is led through our energies more than through what we can see in this physical world. And this is not just some mumbo jumbo. It is just a very unfamiliar territory from us, because for centuries we have done things in one way. And now the whole dynamics, the whole way of doing, of being, of living is going to change. Being in your sovereign power isn't optional. So in human design, we are moving away from the cross of planning to the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is the era of the survival of the individual. Now, this might sound like doomsday and we are all going to be like some sort of selfish creatures walking around, but it's not like that. Sovereignty means being free from within you. And what creates space to that sovereignty is the inner work, what we know as the shadow work, the ancestral work, again, inner child healing, energy alignment, psychedelics. All of those parts help us to break free from old patterns. You see, we live in a world that is literally addicted to suffering. And if you look at the narratives that are being played out, then it's always said that your pain is your power, your fear is your power. Fear and pain are carrying a tremendous force of energy behind them. So if we can use it purposefully, it literally can change the trajectory of our life, because especially pain can create in us this willpower, this will to survive, this will to make it happen, because then we are literally forced into it or pushed into it. But when we associate power with pain, that's a very dangerous thing to do, because what do we do then? We subconsciously create the belief that pain is power. So in order to maintain our power, we need more pain. Can you see where I'm going at? So sovereignty means rising above that pain. For example, when you have reached your own state of inner freedom, authentic expression, and sovereignty, you can look at past events in your life, but they won't hurt you anymore. They won't cause new triggers or emotions, because they belong to a timeline that has been collapsed the moment you have embodied your inner sovereignty. It's a whole nother way of being. It's a whole nother way of existing. Again, it's very different to what we are used to. And in this new era, we need to do that, because the frequencies are so strong that anyone who is not in their sovereignty, or doesn't choose to do the inner work, will have a very hard time dealing with those frequencies. You see, sovereignty is sourced from within. It continually attempts to draw us towards our innate purpose, our wisdom, our power. And in essence, it's this free-flowing and uninhibited state of being in the purest form of authenticity, our true selves. So every time we choose to be ourselves, no matter the circumstance, no matter the situation, then we shift the value we put on ourselves. And then we walk in sovereignty. Perhaps you have watched generations of women in particular in your family and society silence themselves, put their needs last, and deny their worth due to family dynamics, unhealed trauma, or even external pressure. And then often we tend to internalize these unhealthy behaviors as the truth. And then as a result of that truth, we move further away from the sovereignty. I have seen this playing out with my mom in particular and my aunt, who very much were in that state of, people pleasing, and because family was important for them. But we can be very attached to our family and love them, but we can still put ourselves first. There are dynamics that play out differently versus this unhealed form of putting ourselves last. So I, luckily or unluckily, have always been different from my mom and my aunt. And perhaps the reason why I was different is because I saw how much they were actually suffering being in that state. You see, putting yourself first is important. And then when we do it, it's often labeled as selfish. We say, love yourself, but don't love yourself too much. What are we doing? Where are the borders? There is no border. Sovereignty is allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to love yourself to the fullest expression. There are moments in life where we need to put ourselves first, and there are moments in life where we need to put others first, but you will know it depending on the situation, but it won't be like a constant need for approval. Because when we tend to put others always first, there is behind this fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of disapproval, the fear of abandonment. It is connected to those wounds. And so the more we liberate ourselves, the more we also free ourselves from those patterns. The state of sovereignty is about always finding new ways to discover your inner sovereignty and reclaim your freedom. Life remains busy and shit keeps happening, but making time to be present with yourself, to always check in with your energy, feel how your energy is currently feeling, where it is at, where maybe it feels stuck, and then directing it consciously is what is going to make it so different. A sovereign woman and a sovereign man will always allow themselves to feel uncomfortable with emotions such as shame and guilt. We will realize that sadness, rage, and jealousy are all part of the human experience that allow us to process how we can heal, what the root causes of these things are. Many of us have been taught to suppress emotions. And often also people, especially in relationships, when there is a moment to leave that relationship, when there is a moment that the situation simply isn't serving the purpose anymore in that dynamic between both people, many still stay put there because of security reasons, because of fear of being alone, or whatever else reasons we come up. But you see, with the state of sovereignty, you're able to walk away from any kinds of relationship, business, friendships, family, even romance, and especially romance. And you will do that with love. You will not do that with a state of resentment or hate towards this person. It will just come naturally because your energy won't be able to be around them anymore. Your nervous system will not feel calm and safe. And this is, going to the nervous system, your biggest radar, your biggest GPS. The right people you're going to call in, and we are going to be connected with more and more soul groups in the future, are going to be people where your nervous system is going to feel very calm and safe around them. And this is how you will know. Soul resonance, energy resonance is going to be the key word as we're moving forward in any kind of relationship. So I strongly invite you to open yourself up, to really tap in with yourself and ask yourself, who am I? Are these stories that I tell myself true? Move away from this narrative that pain is power. Move away from this narrative that suffering is supposed to be a human experience. Suffering is you deciding to stay there. It is not a natural human experience. Challenges are. Any kind of experience such as grief, death are part of the human experiences. And some aspects in our life need longer to heal than others. However, you staying in low vibrational frequencies of these experiences is what will cause you to stay in the pain and to keep repeating the timeline. Science has proven over and over again that our mind makes up 50% of our past, meaning we are creating stories. So every time you retell a story of your past, you are actually changing the story. For example, if you're sitting with your family, and I have experienced that, and all of you talk about a certain event that occurred years ago within that family, I can almost assure you that each and every family member will have a different memory from that experience. I know so often my sister and myself, we were sitting and recapping our childhood stories, and many times she would come up with an event that I couldn't remember at all. Or if we then had the same event that we were talking about and we both remembered, we would remember it very differently. So the storyline would not be the same. Your mind fabricates so much of what is true and what isn't. That's why deconditioning is one of the most important things you can do, because truth and authenticity, sovereignty vibrate on the highest frequency. That's why truth is so important. And that's why truth is something we cannot escape moving forward. And when I say truth, I don't necessarily mean just our personal truth, because your truth, my truth, can change. What was our truth a year ago most necessarily is not our truth today. And what is our truth today might as well change in the years to come. So always checking in with ourselves about our energies, about our own inner truth. What we base this truth on becomes imperative. And then there is, of course, the universal truth, that truth that is always present if we allow ourselves to open. So again, being sovereign is not optional. Being sovereign means to be free, but being free requires full accountability, full responsibility about your own life, about your own behaviors, about your own BS, and about your dreams, about your purpose, about your goals, having the courage to go for it, moving everything out of the way that no longer serves a purpose in your life, and allowing yourself with open arms and heart to welcome everything new that needs to come in. Life is changing as we know it. We are changing as we know it. The energies are here and they're going to be stronger. And the more sovereign we are, the more we can work with them. And when we are embodied within these energies, everything changes. Your voice changes. The voice is one of the most powerful indicators of embodied sovereignty, especially for women as well, but also for men. You see, the vocal cords emit frequencies. They're called somatic frequencies. And our nervous system picks up on someone else's voice. This is why sometimes when you are in the presence of a person, when they speak, you feel disturbed. When they speak, you feel something is off. And it's not necessarily that they say something wrong, but it's something in the voice. It's something we cannot quantify. And we can do voice activation practices, we can do chanting, we can do singing, we can do all of these things, but we need to combine it with inner work. You see, I have never done any kind of voice training, but my voice has automatically changed when I was fully embodied, when I became fully embodied in my sovereignty, in my power, when my masculine and my feminine energies were in balance. And if you watch some of my older videos, you will notice the difference in my voice, in the tonality, in its speed, in pretty much everything. So two people can say the same things, but it's completely perceived differently by the other person depending on the frequency of the voice. So that's another way how sovereignty is going to be expressed. It is going to be expressed through our voice. So be ready to be free if that is what you truly want. But know that true freedom requires you to be fully in charge of your life, fully in charge of your finances, fully in charge of your love life, of your friendships, of your own energy, of everything. We are all part of one. However, each individual plays a huge role in getting there and changing the collective consciousness so that we all as a collective now pick up on higher frequencies versus on lower ones. This is why bad news always give you more attention and more exposure than good news do. And we are here now to change that narrative. I hope that this video brought you some clarity as to why sovereignty is so important. You can sign up with me for my programs. I have a program from fear to power. I have a program for womb initiation for women in particular. I coach as well couples and men. I have a specific program for both. So If you feel called to work with me, all the info is below in the description text. I would be very happy to be allowed to be part of your journey. And if not, just remember that we are approaching an era that is so new, that is so beautiful and so amazing. But as with everything, the birthing through the process will feel very chaotic. Sending you all so much love.